Hey, what's up, guys? My name is Cartoons, and welcome to another video. In this one, we're finally doing it. We're finally diving into the Warlock class. So, without further ado, meet my beloved new Demonology Warlock on the Alpha, or the Beta now, I guess it's called. And his name is Plebeian the Camel Hoarder. Okay? So, this is my Demonology Warlock, and today we're going to be going over my first impressions of what this class looks like in the beta based off of my experiences of messing around with it for about 2 days. And kind of just like feeling the design for the class out, right? Because this was one of the like I think 2 or 3 classes that I did not do a guide on my website for Warlords of Draenor because Demonology really wasn't a spec that anyone messed with. However, in Legion, they did a full revamp of this spec. This spec is completely different than it was in Warlords of Draenor and previous expansions. Like, there's no metamorphosis form anymore. Obviously, like, Demon Hunters took that away from Demonology Warlock, so they had to figure something out. And they really stuck with the core elements of the class, the class fantasy very well. And I think that this class is very different compared to what the other classes offer in terms of gameplay, right? So with that being said, I kind of want to talk a little bit about how the damage works, a little bit how the mobility works, and a little bit about the defensives. And I also want to give my takes on things that I feel that maybe don't make sense, but also things that Blizzard did well when they were designing the class, just to kind of voice my feedback. And also, if you guys have any feedback as well, be sure to leave it down in the comments. I'm sure that somebody from Blizzard probably watches the videos to get feedback, because this is this is starting to grow into a larger community where people are paying more and more attention, right? So be sure to leave your comments down below. Give your feedback. What do you think about the Demonology spec? Obviously, but we're going to go ahead and dive right into this. So this class is all about summoning all these types of demons, dreadstalkers. You can summon wild imps. You can summon multiple demons. You can summon doom guards or an infernal. You can obviously have one of your pets out, mostly the fell lord, or what's it called? Whatever this guy is. His name is Akra Vazin. I forgot the actual name for the pet. But yeah, or the Felguard. Yeah, there we go. But with that being said, you're able to summon these demons based on how many soul shards you have. Okay, so these soul shards up in the top left of your screen, those 5 little soul shards, allow you to summon your demons. Okay, so based off of how many you have. So like this Call Dreadstalker's ability, which is like your baseline ability for doing damage, or at least like setting up your damage. It costs 2 soul shards, right? And in PvP, it's an instant cast, and the Dreadstalkers only last for a few seconds. Now, how this actually works is that if I'm going to call Dreadstalkers down, obviously you just cast it, and PvP it's instant cast. You summon these Dreadstalkers, and they come to help you fight, but you can also do something called Demonic Empowerment, which is really, really cool. So you can empower your pets to do 56% more haste, 56% increased health, and also 24% increased damage for the Dreadstalkers. And this is like a very interesting thing because you're able to empower your demons that you're able to summon for this small amount of time, and it really works off of like how well you can micromanage those buffs compared to how you can keep all those demons up and get the most amount of demonic empowerment time on those demons, and really empower everything that you have for your huge burst ability, which I'll talk about in just a moment. But another thing that you can summon is these wild imps, and in PvP you're able to take a talent called Master Summoner, which allows you to have 2 wild imps summoned with your 2 Dreadstalkers. Now, with that being said, it's up to 6 wild imps in PvP. Whenever you're able to get these soul shards. So what I'll usually do is you can usually cast like Soul Harvest, and then you can cast like Call Dreadstalkers, and then you cast like a Demon Bolt or a Shadow Bolt, and you get 4 total soul shards, which consumes 4 total soul shards to get 4 wild imps out of your Hand of Gul'dan spell. And look, all these demons hanging out with me. It's like I'm actually it's actually like I have friends, but I don't. That's okay. Anyways, so once you get all those demons out, really the goal is to get 2 Dreadstalkers out, and then get your 4-stack Hand of Gul'dan, and get 4 more wild imps out. So you have 6 wild imps, you'll have 2 Dreadstalkers and your Felguard, and then you're going to want to empower them with demonic empowerment, and then that's when you're like able to use your huge damage ability. So your huge damage ability is called Thalkiel's Consumption, and Thalkiel is your artifact. So Thalkiel's Consumption basically is a damage ability that drains the life of your current demon servants and does a amount of damage based on how much life was drained from all of your servants. So obviously if you have more demons out, then you're going to drain more life from all of those demons, and it's going to do a huge amount of damage. Now, this ability, I've noticed that I'm hitting over 1 million. Just like hit. If you like do it well enough to where you have 7 demons out and you use this consumption ability with all your cooldowns, you can hit over 1 million pretty easily. And I've noticed that is your one shot. That is like the biggest damage ability that you can do, and is honestly one of the biggest damage abilities in the entire game. So I would imagine that you could compare it to the like the Metamorphosis wave. I think it's called like Shadow Wave or something like that. Back in Warlords of Draenor, where you used to like one-shot people and stuff like that, and it was like crazy, especially at the beginning of Warlords of Draenor. You could like one-shot people with this ability. It's kind of like that, except for it's just different, and you have to set it up differently. It's really hard to line up, but if you can line it up, then it's awesome. It's like a really rewarding feeling. I feel like you really worked hard to get that spell in place, and it really kind of worked out for you, right? There's a little bit more to the damaging, factors of Demonology Warlock. You have something called Doom, which is basically Curse of Doom, but a little bit different. If the curse lasts for 18.5 seconds, they take a huge amount of damage at the end. It's like 200,000. It's actually not the hugest amount of damage, but it's a pretty substantial amount, and it's worth noting. And it also generates 1 soul shard for you. And then obviously you have something called Summon Doomguard or Summon Infernal. Now these are like your big 3-minute cooldowns, where you can summon a huge demon. You're going to want to summon Infernals if you're fighting melee, and you're going to want to summon Doomguards if you're fighting casters, and they kind of just help, kind of deal with those situations a little bit better. But obviously they're a demon, they do a lot of damage. So if I were to summon down a Doomguard for this guy, you can see that I can't actually control him, but he does a pretty solid amount of damage. He casts, and that you can also empower him. See, so yeah, you can do a pretty solid amount of damage with this guy right here. But outside of that, there's really only one more thing to it, and that is the Demon Bolt procs. So whenever I cast my Demonic Empowerment, my next Demon Bolt will be instant cast, as you can see. So whenever I empower my demons, I'm going to get an instant cast Demon Bolt / Shadow Bolt, which also generates a soul shard. That's pretty important. So you're going to want to be casting your empowerments all the time. Like pretty much every time you summon a demon, you're going to want to empower them, because it gives you that free Shadow Bolt that gives you more soul shards, allows you to summon more demons on that rotation, and really does a solid amount of damage. Based on how well you're able to micromanage all of those soul shards, manage the empowerments, manage the doom, know when you're going to use your consumption to get the most damage, and just like balancing everything. It's actually a pretty hard class. You have to really focus, and I feel like that's pretty healthy for the game, because not only is there like all of that micromanaging of the servants, but you also have a pet bar. So like you have a pet stun that you can use, where it's like an axe toss for 4-second stun, and you have a blade storm that you can use for the pet. So like, it's important to like micromanage all of that and make sure that it's doing the most amount of damage possible, because in PvP, this is one of those classes where you have to be good at the class if you want to see high reward. And I am perfectly fine with that level of design. I feel like if you are good at the class, then you're obviously going to be much more effective, as if you were like decent at the class, you don't want to be as effective. Arms worse. So, it is what it is. And I would like to move on to mobility, because that is, a really big deal to me right now in the Warlock tree. A lot of people have been talking about it, especially on the forums. And with that being said, we're going to jump into it. The matter of the fact is that like Dark Pact is a really, really strong defensive cooldown. Okay, and it's on the level 75 tree, but as you can see, what else is on the level 75 tree is the Demonic Circle. And this is one of the most staple spells in World of Warcraft, and I can't even stress it enough. Like, Demonic Circle is a huge deal. Demonic Circle obviously is that portal that Warlocks put on the ground, and then you can run away and you can port back to it, right? That is on the same tree as one of the main defensive cooldowns for Demonology Warlocks. And I feel like this is a poor design choice because you shouldn't have to choose between mobility and defensives. I feel like I shouldn't have to choose between being tanky or being mobile in the same tree, whereas there's plenty more trees that allow me to, just do more damage. I just feel like that these two abilities are very different from each other, and I feel like I should have to choose between defensive cooldowns that are meant for different situations, and then mobility cooldowns that are and in a different tree that are meant for different situations, as opposed to having to choose between being having a defensive cooldown or having a mobility cooldown, because I'm never going to choose this. I'm never going to choose Demonic Circle over Dark Pact because of how strong Dark Pact is. And I just feel like that if we had a tree that was like mobility tree, right? So you have Demonic Circle, you have two other talents that make you really mobile, maybe for different situations, maybe make you less effective against slows, or you speed up whenever you're slowed or something like that. And it's just like, just different, right? It's just different based on different classes you fight. And I understand that that's different for PvE, but that's just kind of my opinion, and I thought I would voice it out there. Whether it's wrong or right, that's really not up to me. That's up to for the community to decide. And obviously, you guys can voice your own opinions down in the comments below. We're gonna move a little bit further. I think that these curses in the PvP talents are an awesome thing to add. Seriously, this is great. I feel like this is one of the best additions in Legion for like a talent tree. Is that these curses, being able to choose between Curse of Tongues, Curse of Weakness, and Curse of Fragility, based off of what team you are fighting. And like who you're dueling, basically, like what team you're fighting in RBGs. Like, this is awesome. So you're able to reduce people's maximum health by 20% for 10 seconds, which is a pretty cool ability. You're able to reduce a physical damage dealt for 10 seconds on a 20-second cooldown. So against melee, you take this, and then against this, you take like Curse of Tongues. Like, this is back. Increases the cast time of all spells by 30% for 10 seconds. Obviously, you take this versus casters. Like, I feel like the PvP talents for the Demonology Warlock were really well made. I feel like Casting Circle is kind of a boring ability, but whatever, it is what it is. But like this like talent tree is really well made, and you guys should definitely take a second to go check it out on like Wowhead or something, or MMO Champion or whatever, if you haven't read through it already and you are planning on playing a Demonology Warlock, because this is a really awesome PvP talent tree. It was very well designed. The Master Summoner, the Call Fel Lord, and the Call Observer, like all of that stuff was really well designed, especially the Nether Ward. Like, it's just great. Like, it's like really nice to be able to choose between talents that are actually meaningful, unlike Frostmage. Oh god, I got a cough, guys. But yeah, so pretty solid, and I really can't complain in terms of the PvP talents. But for the regular talents, there is a lot of confusion based off having to choose defensives versus mobility, and having to choose between like Shadow Fury and Mortal Coil. I mean, obviously, I would never choose Shadow Fury as a Demonology Warlock because I have the Axe Toss, and I would just DR the Shadow Fury, and the Shadow Fury is a 1.39 second cast now as opposed to instant cast. It just doesn't make sense. So I would always choose Mortal Coil. I mean, it's a 1 second less it's a 1 second less duration if it were to be on full DR, but if you axe toss for someone for 4 seconds, the next spell is going to be 2 seconds. So like it's like saying a 2 second duration CC versus a 3 second duration CC. So Mortal Coil is probably always better unless you're playing with like a mage or something, so it doesn't DR the incapacitate DR. I don't even know if it still does that, actually. I don't know if Mortal Coil still DRs incapacitate DR in Legion. It definitely does in WoD, but not so sure in Legion. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit about defensives. So obviously, like I was talking about earlier, is Dark Pact is a really strong ability because it sacrifices 20% of all of your demons' current health, and then shields you for 400% of the sacrifice health for 20 seconds. This can shield you upwards of like 2 to 3 million. Honestly, like, it's pretty crazy, because if you're able to get all these demons out, I guess I can just show you right here, right? So if I were to just go ahead and summon these Dreadstalkers, and then summon 3 imps over here, so I've got like 6 demons, and I hit Dark Pact. Right here, it's a 706,000. That's like nothing. I didn't even empower them first. If you empower them, they all gain like double their health. So like if you just empower them and then hit Dark Pact, it's like a ridiculous shield that's like super hard to break through. And not to mention the Soul Leech shield that you get passively whenever you're doing damage. Like it's really, really hard to kill Demonology Warlocks or Warlocks in general. I feel like Warlocks are probably the tankiest classes or the tankiest caster of the entire bunch. And that's because of the the self healing from Mortal Coil, the Drain Life healing, healing you for 600% of the damage dealt. You have Dark Pact, which is crazy with Demonic Empowerment, and then you also have the Shield Wall, Unending Resolve. You have the Soul Leech passive shield, which is pretty crazy. And then also you can have like Curse of Weakness or Curse of Tongues or something like that, mixed with your stuns, your CCs, and your fears, and all that stuff. It really does feel like Warlocks are the tanky class of the caster bunch, which I did read on the forums from an official Blizzard post not too long ago, saying that they did wish for Warlocks to be the tankiest caster. That whenever they were reverting, or not even reverting, but more so just thinking about like what they wanted Warlocks to be like in Legion, they thought of the tanky caster. So that's definitely done. That's definitely what this class looks like. And overall, I feel like the experience that I've had with the Demonology Warlock in Legion has been very complex. I feel like there's a pretty high skill cap, and I like that a lot. I hope that the sustained damage is buffed just a little bit, and maybe the burst from the consumption ability is nerfed a little bit, because I feel like the sustained damage outside of the consumption is a little bit low, but that's just my opinion, and it is what it is. I would just like to see a little bit more sustained damage out of these Warlocks, since your entire class philosophy is based around summoning demons and then keeping your uptime on the Demonic Empowerment and just being able to micromanage that very well. I feel like the sustained damage as opposed to burst damage rewards that a lot more, rewards that style of play, right? As opposed to playing like an Arcane Mage or like an Ellie Shaman. You could just do the same amount of burst damage, but wouldn't have to micromanage everything. But yeah, guys, obviously be sure to let me know in the comments what you think. I feel like this class is pretty fun, and it's definitely worth checking out on Legion, especially since they've done a full rework on it. Maybe you'll enjoy it, maybe you won't. It is what it is. But yeah, guys, I hope you did enjoy this video. If you did, be sure to give it a thumbs up, and you can subscribe for more content, more Legion content. I do 5 videos a week, and I also do 5 live streams a week now, since it's summer. Every time you guys see a video come out on my channel, like release on my channel, I'm usually live at that point. So be sure to go check it out. I usually am live around 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. CST on weekdays. I take the weekends off, though, pretty strictly. So yeah, I hope you guys did enjoy, and I will see you all in the next video. Cartoons out.